Hey everyone, Morgan here. So, as we're finishing The Last of Us, I thought it was really interesting that gas masks were very rarely used in the series. So, I actually stumbled across a blog post written by Mirror Safety, the producers of gas mask filters, all these kinds of things. And they had a really cool article that I'm going to be briefly talking about, and then I'm going to link you to because I think it's really cool how they laid out, why they really need to be using the gas mask. So here's some highlights from this blog post. So what they were saying is that actually in the game, I don't know if you ever played the game, but they wear gas masks a lot in the game. Not all the time, like, you weren't wearing a gas mask all the time, but sometimes. And so they just really weren't using the gas mask. And so you kind of had to think to yourself, well, do they even need the gas mask in The Last of Us? Actually, yeah, you do. And one of the reasons that they were saying, I thought this was funny, and I had to say this, Ellie and who should have been Hugh Jackman, they walk through areas where there's spores in the air, right? And so the amount of spores floating around in the air would have actually attacked them. It wasn't just through, it physically going into your mouth or anything like that. There were actually floating spores in the air. So wearing that gas mask would have been like one of the only ways to survive through those really intense areas with all those spores flying around. Including your eyes, everything, mucus, anything with mucous membranes or anything like that would have to be covered. So it would call for this type of gas mask, because I'm showing a video right here. And this full face respiratory is for CBRN defense. And this is a full face gas mask, and it comes with a special filter and all that. Also, I do want to mention that they have this really cool Affirm where you can get it for like $24 a month. Makes it super affordable. I'm just saying, if you're ever on the fence about mirror safety and you're just like, oh, it's too expensive, well, they have these Affirm, which is pretty neat, I think. So this full mask protects from toxic industrial chemicals and chemical warfare agents, including chemical, biological, and nuclear threats such as radioactive dust, noxious gas, and vaporized pollutants, and more. So this would be the type of gas mask that you would want in The Last of Us series. So it's not just the gas masks, okay? The gas mask is only part of it. You need the right filter too. And what they're recommending for the right filter in that type of scenario would have been 0.3 micrometer. There are also children's gas masks on Mirror Safety, which offer the same type of protection. They actually have an NBC 77 filter, which is the stop it all filter, so it could protect your lungs from those spores that we're talking about in The Last of Us. When we're thinking about a lot of this stuff, people usually just typically think about gas masks. So when we're talking about a nuclear war or something, think about the gas mask. But what I've always said after that is, if you've ever walked outside and you just had that full face gas mask and all that, you would have to completely strip off your clothing and then immediately go take a shower. However, if you had a full body suit, this would prevent you from having to completely strip and take a shower immediately. You would probably have to do that anyway, but I recommend doing that. But the full body suit would have also protected the spores from being on your clothes. So now the spores couldn't transmit, once you took that gas mask off. It's the same as the nuclear war, right? You would be bringing those particles indoors with you if you happen to be walking around during the fallout. But, if it happened to get on your clothes, you take that gas mask off and you could still be contaminated. You could be contaminating your home, your living space. You could be contaminating everything if you didn't have a full protective suit. We always keep our shoes at the door. We don't take them, we don't spread them around the house, right? Our shoes stay inside the door. They do not go anywhere. We do the Japanese method of take your shoes off, not just because we live in the snow, but just take those shoes off at the door, right? So they actually offer safety combat overboots. So you can put the overboots on. And what's nice about these overboots is that they actually kind of snap on. So I don't know. I think these boots would definitely protect you. I would think they would need to be tightened up top too. But as long as you're wearing the suit, the mask, and everything, and the boots, you'd be fully protected, and you would have to take everything off. Of course, you have to, think about your gloves and all these things. I think that's also something a lot of people don't talk about is, your gloves, your hands, you're touching all this stuff, you're removing this, you're removing that. So, you're going to be removing the gloves, very safely, and discarding of those as well, whatever gloves you happen to have on. My next video, I'm going to be showing a full review of the mirror safety gas mask. One thing that really makes me really sad about this blog post is that it goes into talk about uh, potentially contaminated food. Like if you make your bread and these kinds of things, it would the spores would latch onto the bread and the flour and that, and it makes me really sad. Bread is life. How could you go throughout the apocalypse without bread? But people were saying that you got to go paleo, meaning that you wouldn't eat any processed foods, no bread products whatsoever. This would make it a much safer diet. What's really interesting is that the reason they brought this up is because they have a detoxifier. By putting all the food you eat into a bin of water, then utilizing the detoxifier, you would blast that food with ultrasonic waves and ozone that would have the potential to kill off those spores. Apparently, by using the detoxifier, if it was at full power and used for the longest time frame mentioned, they would be able to get rid of those specific spores from The Last of Us. Wow. Mirror Safety has it all figured out, don't they? I'm totally not sponsored by Mirror Safety, by the way. I think that their stuff is really cool. I am seriously looking at this detoxifier. It detoxifies meat, fruit, and vegetables. I'm super interested in this. Only $36 a month? So let's do it. All right. Thank you all so much for watching. I thought that was just very interesting, and I thought that was very cool that they went through that in their blog post. I thought The Last of Us was a pretty interesting series. I really enjoyed playing the game, and I could talk more about The Last of Us if you want me to. Just put your comment down below if you'd like my take on The Last of Us series. Thank you all so much for watching. Conquer tomorrow by preparing today. Bye-bye.